Managing student centers can be quite a daunting task to conquer if station rotation is new to you. There are quite a few ways that you can set up and manage this powerful teaching practice. So I'm going to go over just some of the basic guidelines to help you in your planning. Pre-planning. So you decided to give centers a whirl. You should probably take some time to plan your student activities. Think about expectations, rules, and consequences. If you're using Compass regularly, now is the time to look at the data and form your flexible groups. Then think about what types of activities you want them to complete based on that data. Guidelines. Okay, so we want to form our flexible groups. A lot goes into creating successful groups. Think about behaviors, attitudes, and instructional levels. I would keep it to 5 to 7 students max. The smaller the size, the more focused it tends to be. And students with intensive needs will benefit from a reduced group size so that they can receive more individualized support. These groups will change as students' data changes. Essential elements. In a perfect world, there would be center rotations that included teacher-led instruction, online instruction that's personalized, Compass in this case, independent practice, and collaboration. Many teachers leave out the collaboration piece until their students are comfortable with the rituals and expectations of center work. I've even been to classrooms where students don't rotate at all, but the materials are rotated by one student per group. Having the students stay seated and the materials move to them seemed to work best for those classes that just couldn't handle the movement in the beginning. It's something to work towards. Appropriate center activities. Okay, so we're in centers. We want to think about what types of activities you want them to be doing. If they're always working on quizzes or multiple choice practice, they might get a little bored. So make sure that in the independent and collaborative centers, you have activities that are high engaging and that students can complete independently. If it's too difficult or too easy, you'll notice that the noise level and behavioral issues are likely to increase. Time. It's crucial that your activities are timed well. You want to be there a few minutes to clean up and to rotate, but you don't want too much downtime. It's a fine line. Make sure you have support materials for those who complete activities early so that student engagement is maintained. In my classroom, I use independent reading books. If ever they finished early, you're independent reading. In elementary, I've seen the magnetic letters and boards just already in little bins and ready to go. Okay. This is an important piece that many people tend to forget about. You need to implement a behavior management system if this is going to work well. Model, practice, review your procedures. Think about what incentives you're using. I've spent a few days just modeling and practicing how to rotate quietly and quickly. And an incentive system often works well here. Many classes use Class Dojo or some sort of ticket or point system to reward positive behavior. Praise those who are doing it right. And I included this little pinwheel here that shows different jobs or roles that students can have in their group just to give them a focus. Starting off, start slowly. Don't jump into it all at once. Enforce your rituals, rules, and consequences. You may want to begin just with one center a day until your class seems comfortable and ready to move on. Take time to be in your students' shoes. Have answers to their possible questions ahead of time. For example, if they can't log into Compass, what do? Do they get up and run and ask you for help? Well, this would interrupt your teacher-led group and cause a little bit of chaos. You may want to assign a tech specialist role to that one student who seems to be better at technology than you and I are. Think about the types of things that they might run into and have a plan. All right, it's going to happen. Kids are going to act like kids. What's your plan for those kids who act up? Beyond thinking of the consequence, It's also a time to reflect on our teaching. Was the activity too difficult, too easy, maybe a little boring? Think about all that and then reflect upon how we can make it better. Center charts. I've seen from simplistic to the most complex. We included just a few pretty easy ones for you to get and understand. This one here shows 4 different groups and the 4 different stations that they will go to on that day. For those people who are not ready for their students to actually rotate between all these stations, in this chart here, you'll see that each group has 1 station they go to on a given letter day. So if I'm the yellow group or group 1, on A days, I'm in computer. On B days, I'm in my teacher station, and so forth. And this one here is just another example of computer, teacher-led, and independent practice and how they rotate. Make sure it's easy for the students to understand. Once again, you want to make sure you're modeling and reviewing those expectations. Be consistent. Usually once you give a consequence to 1 or 2 students, they seem to pick up on it and are less likely to follow that bad behavior. Teach. Although it may seem like common sense to us, many students need explicit direction for routine-like activities. Show students where the materials are stored, how to organize them, what cleanup looks like, and how to rotate between stations. Model, model, model. Speaking of transitions or rotating, how will your students know it's time to rotate? Will you have a bell, a timer? Do you sing songs? Is there a call response? Make sure that the students know that it's time to rotate and how long they have to rotate. Just be consistent. If you use a timer, then that's what you use every time. And last, we're ready to begin, but before you leave, keep this question in the forefront of your planning. How will you make sure that your students are held accountable? Be mindful about what it is you want your students to get out of your center rotations. What is the product?